pretty fat. I would just be like weaving through like crowds and like I knocked an old lady over once, like 'cause she was like trying to like eat my picture at the bar mitzvah, and I just backed into her, not on purpose, but like don't get behind me.
Hey, this man's at work,
Yeah.
get out of the way. Michelangelo's painting the ceiling of the chapel here. Move away.
I used to go to my boss and be like, look, I feel bad because I'm just sweating everywhere. And the thing about like people who have money is like they like to see you sweat. That's what he told me. Like they don't care. Like you're disgusting. You smell. I didn't smell, but I look like I smelled. And but they like seeing some fat brute just be a workhorse for them. It brings back memories of servitude.
I was gonna say their ancestors probably love that one. I mean that's like in baseball, man. The Mets used to have Carlos Beltran. He was too good. He was like, like they said, he was like a gazelle out there. Like you just said, he could run easily, swing easily. So everyone was like, he's not even fucking trying. It's like, no, he's just better than your fat, lazy ass. He's better, he's better than we are, you dick. But yeah, if you just put a little sweat out there and a little grunt, they're like, oh, he's working hard. I'm just fucking pressing a button. So that dries up because of the recession. Nobody's throwing the parties anymore. And then you go, all right, I'll go to the fucking morgue.
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, I took a test, and in the interim, I ended up working in a potato bread warehouse.
A potato bread warehouse.
Working the graveyard shift.
Wait. You take a test for what?
For the morgue thing. But the morgue thing, it's like a county job. So you have to wait like a couple years to get the job. Like, it's kind of like you're on a list.
Is a morgue job like highly coveted?
I mean, every county job is kind of like, or state job, like is usually because they have good benefits and like the pay was decent for that. But yeah, it was kind of you would think like who wants to hang out with a bunch of debt, but there was like at least. I mean, I scored well on the test, but there was like a couple guys ahead of me, and they a couple of them washed out, so I got the gig.
What's the test like? What are they asking you?
It was weird. It was just basic for like, hey, like what kind of white balance setting would you use? Like, and like, what kind of filter would you use on a sunset kind of crap? And it's like, it should have been like, hey, like, how do you fingerprint a decomposed corpse? And like, answer, you rip its skin off and you put it on your hand. But, they don't ask you that. That's the kind of stuff that like anyone could just do. The photography there is very simple. Yeah. But, it was just the, you X-raying, like, just maggots are swimming everywhere. Like that's the kind of problem solving. You have a number tag that you put on the corpse, but when you put it down in the body, the maggots keep swimming around like it's a cartoon. How do you fix that? They don't ask you that in the test, though.
What the fuck, dude? What?
I mean, stuff happens.
I mean, I get that, but they're just like, they're talking about the filters and the angles and that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's all they asked you.
Do you think that's like if you sat down to take a test and they asked you how do you properly shoot the organs when the maggots are in the way, you think it would just scare everybody off?
No, I think it's just that no one even. You're thinking too hard. They hadn't changed that test since the 70s, probably. Yeah, and
right.
I don't care. Like there's no shortage of people who want to fucking just fist. I mean, I wasn't fisting them, but there's people out there who want to hang out and just There's people who got the job just because they like Metallica and they like the shirt, and then whatever. And he starts crying to me because he saw a dead baby and like, oh, it reminds me of my kids. I don't care. Like, yeah, there's dead babies. This is what we do. Maybe this is not the gig for you because you like Megadeth.
Wait. Explain this to the Metallica Mega.
He's like some guy, metal guy. I mean, he's a nice guy, but he's just like he doesn't have a medical background. He just he wanted to get the job at the morgue for like because he like. He didn't say it's because he literally like went, but you could tell.
Yeah. So he was just part. That was like what he thought was part of this persona kind of, and then it's like, oh no, you don't have the stones for it.
No, well, he did for years. He was fine. I mean, but he did have a thing about dead kids, which I did. I mean, I was always, look, we're here. Let's not, it's sad. Well, I can't bring the kid back to life.
Whether I'm taking a picture of it or someone else is, the kid's fucking dead.
If I was a wizard, I'd bring it back to life. But, what am I going to
do? So how long did you do that for?
Like 3 years.
3 years. And that's, 8-hour shifts.
Yeah, like 8-hour shifts. You usually get like, at least a couple old people every day. That's your baseline. Is a couple of old people who just didn't have like medical records. and they just cut them open, and it's a basic thing. They do it pretty quickly. They cut up the chest, rip everything out. They cut up the organs into a souffle, basically. Not souffle. They cut them up, like they slice them up like peppers and onions. Okay. They throw it back in the garbage bag, and it goes back in your body, and that's. But then you got the suicides and the murders and the decomposed things. Those get more involved.
What's the most gruesome thing you saw?
Let's think. I mean, the train stuff was crazy. The guys who drove in front of trains, and you're taking you get a bag, and you get the better body bags from the MTA. They're really heavy duty ones.
Yeah.
And you open it up, and it's just like Mr. Potato Head. You're pulling a leg out, you're pulling the head out.
And you got
the decomposed stuff was pretty crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Holy shit.
The decomposed stuff, the decomposed corpse, the body blows up 2-3 times the size. The balls get like this big.
The balls do?
Yeah, the scrotum. It's fills up with gas. And then sometimes the doctor would, pierce it and it would all just come like a fountain.
That's got to just appalling.
Yeah, look, I mean, it smells bad. It's not fun. I mean, but it's like
normal, but balls huge.
Yeah, oftentimes it would be like a small dick on top of a massive scrotum. But where else are you gonna see that? That's the way you gotta be.
You're so lucky. You got to see what nobody else saw, Ray. One of the perks of the gig.
Exactly.
Fucking Christ.
I got a story to tell on the first date.
Good icebreaker material. What does a gig like that pay?
They kind of they stagger it out with these steps, but basically you get $70,000 a year.
Well,
I think you get good benefits, and you get a pension if you stay, which I didn't, but
I mean that's pretty good for you think of some of the opportunities out there for that's a lot more than.
Oh yeah, even if you hated it, which I kind of enjoyed it, but even if you hated it,
what the fuck is wrong with you, Ray Kump? Why do you like it?
Well, I mean, where else are you gonna see a guy with a shotgun blow his head off, and you're in his skull, putting it back together like a bag of broken glass? I mean, where else are you gonna do that in a video game?
Yes, in your fucking worst nightmares, where it should stay.
It's fine. Look, I'm a dynamic, well-rounded person, and I have a
sure.
I have a lot of I'm a raconteur.
What? What? I mean, you're telling me you go to work and some fucking baby shows up that's been beaten to death, and you're just saying, well, okay, no one gets to see this except for me, not a big deal.
I'm not happy. I'm I hate the moment. I go, this is sad, but I'm a grown man. I'm going to do the job anyway. How about I do it and not cry? Is that okay? Is it okay if I don't cry every time the baby comes in? Does that make me a monster?
Did you was in the beginning, were there tears, or right off the bat you just said this is a job and who cares?
Look, I don't know what happened to the. I am not one of these. I'm all for people facing their emotions and being sensitive. But where's this idea that I have to cry? It's not Forrest Gump, all right? It's not I have no connect. This is. What do you think happens in the world? That's a problem with people. People go through their life thinking kids don't die. I was always thinking about dead kids. I was over, the Iraq War and everything. I'm always thinking, that kid probably got, kids are getting their heads
by a drone. Yeah, right.
So it's it's not a big surprise to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't assume it. Every time when a baby died, some fucking cherub came and pulled it to heaven.
Yeah, flies it up with their wings. Right. Were you there alone, or would you have
no, there's doctors, there's medical techs.
You don't do any of you just take the pictures, or were you obviously not chopping them open, right?
Well, I was they let me chop use the bolt cutters to open the rib cage a couple of times. I milked a colon once.
What does that mean? Milk the colon, Ray Kump?
I don't know if that's a technical term, but that's what I called it. It's just because you have to send everything.
Because you got to shit in it. You got to get the shit out.
Well, not just to get it. I mean, you're not trying to clean the colon per se. The idea is that you have to send the contents to toxicology. Right. So you have the large intestine, and you kind of just almost like a cake thing.
Yeah, cake batter, icing.
Yeah, and you're just kind of milking it out into it looked like a deli cup. The thing you get like a pound of chicken salad in.
Yep.
You put it in that.
Yeah, chicken salad or colon contents. Same.
Exactly. Yeah. But mostly I was, taking pictures, x-raying, fingerprinting. That was the gig.
You ever, it was that where was it for medical purposes, or was that for like investigation purposes? You ever like crack a case or some shit where the fingerprints mattered in a way?
Oh, the fingerprints themselves? No, like the funny thing is that my fingerprints were never used, like by definition, because like if it was a case where like it was a homicide, or like even if it had to be identified, the cops had their own fingerprint unit and it did much more like advanced fingerprints. So we just had like, volumes of fingerprints that like really had no purpose. It was just doing it for the
just to have.
I don't know. Someone thought it was a good idea, just in case. Just in case we found Jimmy Hoffa or something.
Right. I grew up on City Island in the Bronx, and right across was Potter's Field, where they put all the John Does. So it's just like filled up with the dead bodies that nobody came to claim. So that you do all that shit and then ship them to a place like that.
Well, usually a funeral home will pick them up.
Funeral home, right?
And for the John Doe, those Potter Field, they'll just come, like, instead of coming with like a gurney, they'll just come with like a wooden box and just dump it right into a box.
COVID must have been a fucking disaster for morgues, no?
Oh, I mean, from like it must have been. I mean, I was there for Sandy, and a similar thing where basically because there's no power, in a lot of places, a lot of funeral home, because usually the funeral home would pick it up from us typically. And they all had like no power, so they were like they want to pick the bodies up. So we had to get these like refrigerated trucks, which I've read that they were doing that too during COVID. But yeah, those things were bad. There was like and the fridges were full of like there were things in the fridge like old dog like trash cans full of dog heads and like giant turtle shells, like bizarre stuff
for Sandy.
Well, I'm saying like we had to clear that stuff out finally. I was like, can I throw this giant turtle shell out, please? Like it's been here for 10 years. I gotta shove someone in here. And they're like, fine, just do it.
A turtle shell, Jesus. Dude, was there a lot of deaths in Sandy?
I mean, there was a decent amount. Not like, I don't think a tremendous amount, but it wasn't like overloaded with death. It was more just that like everyone's power went out.
Right.
So like they wanted us to hold the bodies. We had backup generators, but we only had so much space. So like the trash cans, the trash can full of dog heads, I think stayed there because there was evidence. Someone was like forcing their kids to cut off dogs' heads. I mean,
what the?
I'm not part of the cops, so I'm not privy to the other part of the info. I get like half a puzzle every time and it never gets solved.
Man, that we need like a new crime novelist who writes beach fiction about Ray Kump, the morgue. You're a morgue photographer, but you're a rogue vigilante investigator as well, and you go solve the other half of the puzzle. Tell me that's not a fucking series right now that people would read.
I think it's more interesting if it's just me, like, half drunk going, that's a bloody asshole, ain't it? And then just going to Applebee's.
Either way,
I would read that book.
What is there a lot of truth to the people there's people out there fucking the bodies?
I mean, I've never seen that, but I mean,
know of it.
Why wouldn't that be true?
Of like, when Wayne takes over.
No. There was. I'd be honest with you, but I never saw any indication of that. But I also have no reason to think that doesn't, wouldn't happen.
Somebody. I mean, there's a reason why that joke or stereotype exists, right? It's gotta.
Yeah, it's also like, look, the thing is like, when you work in it is a pretty big, medical examiner's office, but a lot of places in the country don't have that. They just have a coroner who's like he's like a county official or something, and like he'll recruit a regular doctor, to do an autopsy. So like that's more likely where you get the guy fucking the body, because it's like there's not, you have cameras everywhere. It's like,